second one, there's 11. But I think, again, that some of those are gonna get covered just by them talking. The third one is the biggest chunk,
Well, we could break this
which
out,
is the
you
two,
know.
and do we need two for, well, that's the only one that has two.
I like where we're going, but I think in the actual interview, we're gonna look at these and we're gonna maybe spend more time wondering if they've already answered this question as opposed to having a dialogue with that person.
They are a draft. I believe interviews should be conversations, not interrogations. So as long as the topics are covered, as long as we find out about culture fit, we find out how they manage, manage and staff, leadership and strategic, et cetera, then I think that we're on the right track.
Well, I guess my short plan in this brief time of looking at this is, I'm gonna look through this and say, okay, if I had to pick one question from this group, which one would I wanna ask? And then I'm gonna make sure that one gets asked. And I would assume you guys would be kinda in the same idea of, okay, I wanna know that this is being asked about the budget, and if we're each doing that, you kind of pinpointed a question, and then as they're answering, you're gonna know, you know, some of the
But at the
questions
same
are very
time,
detailed.
you're not, yeah. At the same time, you don't wanna pigeonhole yourself into certain questions, because it's, the design of it is to say, all right, well, I would want to ask this question, but he already answered it in that question before, so I'm gonna,
Yeah,
so
but
be familiar with all the questions so that we can
yeah, but I think
divert.
I would be identifying, okay, which are a few of these that I know that I wanna make sure we cover and have a plan, so that I'm not going, okay, did they answer this one?
Mm-hmm.
And then these are being shared with the candidates and we're sending them out to the candidates, or we're not?
No, I have a welcome packet that I am sending to candidates that will inform them that these areas will be discussed, and they should be prepared to create 10 to 15-minute introductory remarks, and then be prepared to answer questions regarding these 6 areas, but not specific questions, no.
But this could be then, it's an open record. If, say, the forum wants to see this, they can see this, print these, which I'm better with knowing that there's a range of questions instead of just saying these are the questions.
I think what we would do in our media stuff would just be to say we're gonna ask questions from these 6 categories. That way we aren't pinned down to specific questions.
But I would think if they ask
But
for
if they
them,
wanna see this,
Well,
they can
they
see
could
this.
have
These are
them.
draft.
Just as much as these get.
No, well, this is draft. These are draft questions. We haven't, they're just a pool of questions. So as long as we call it a draft and it's a pool, that's not anything we have to be. Because if you could come in with your own questions that aren't in this list,
Mhm.
as long as they fit the categories. So that provides us with some flexibility to have some questions that we may not have thought of yet.
So does that open us up for other positions that if the form did print that, we'd have to do that for every position that we open up?
That
Well,
we
you're
have
not,
to do
you're not
what?
having an open meeting like we are right now. I mean, that's more internal personnel.
But it's a public
Matter.
record.
Yeah, I'm hoping it wouldn't go that
Right.
far, but,
I would never want it to go that far either.
right.
But see, that's part of the reason why, Diane was concerned about publishing specific questions, that sets a precedent. So this kind of splits the middle, so we can say, here are the categories that we're going to be asking about, but we're not
Mhm.
identifying any specific. Because frankly, at that point, then the next, if we're hiring for a groundskeeper, chances are we could come up with pretty quickly, it'd probably be almost the same level of categories that we're gonna ask. Maybe not leadership and strategic planning, but the point is that we could, no matter who we interview or positions we fill, I think it wouldn't be too hard to come up with the categories of questions that we'd like to ask.
So you're saying that we can deviate from these questions?
Yep.
So this is just a draft of
These are
questions?
just drafts.
Okay.
These are just
All right.
potentials to look at.
It's just a list of questions we suggested, and we put them all together so we all have access to them, but at the same time, you might come up with a new one between
Yep.
now and then, and
Right.
And it gives us a chance to think about, you know, what kind of questions are there that relate to management style and staffing or leadership?
So let me just ask you just generally, you know, time frame for interviews and number of questions for an interview like this.
Honestly, I've never counted the number of questions that I've asked. I've simply asked the questions that I needed to get a better understanding of what somebody does as far as management style. Sometimes a question brings its own follow-up questions, so it's a lot. No matter how we pare it down, the candidate is going to be answering a lot of questions, yes. And they're going to be meeting with you honestly at the end of a very busy day, so.
And we can shed a little bit of light, Rusty, if we take from what we did initially with these same group of people. We had 10 questions, I believe, in that first round, and, you know, set aside an hour for each candidate, and I can't think of more than maybe one out of these 5 that went that entire hour. They were, you know, very consistently in that 40 to 45 minutes for 10 questions. Now, some of our questions there, I will throw this in there too, had 2 or 3 parts to them.
Right.
Yep.
But just kind of as a rough barometer.
I don't think any of them would be like Joe.
That's the PhD.
And I want to spend as much time as we have to make sure that we get to know each individual.
The other
So I'm
thing,
just worried about Joe spending 6 hours.
yeah,
So-
the other thing that
6 might be
Diane
generous. Probably
and
more
I
than that.
Diane and I talked about was set the expectation. You got 2 hours with the board, we want 10 or 15 minutes of introductory comments, and then you're gonna have, and we can change that number to 30 or whatever, but you're gonna have, you know, an hour and 45 minutes to answer whatever we decide is the number of questions.
Mhm.
So then they can pace themselves, and they know that they don't have 6 hours on the stage to answer the 30 questions.
And in every interview, an hour might be enough, or it might be 2 hours with someone else too. Just depends on how it flows.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the constituent user group interviews, that these draft questions would be something that Diane would pull from to ask the candidates. That's what we talked about, because
Mm.
none
The
of us
nice
will
thing
be-
about not sending questions is you're gonna avoid the canned answers.
Right.
That would naturally come from thinking about it and reciting it 120 times before you went in, so.
A take-home test.
Right.
One more thing I'd like to add too is just from my experience with, when it comes to the rating, and I think this is a philosophical thing that, you know, the board should think about how they want to react, because on my own team, we've experienced this where we use I haven't seen that rating sheet, but if it's a 100-point scale, I've had where members of my team will rate people, and then at the end of the day, the top rated person that everybody got isn't a choice. And so some people go into it thinking that, you know, the rating sheet, hands down, that's the top point getter gets it, but some of my team has come and said, well, no, that's just, we wanted to see who was, you know, everybody's first, second, third, fourth, and so on. And then we wanted to have the discussion and have that open dialogue. So I know from an HR standpoint, or at least I think from my experience visiting with previous HR professionals, they very much would like to see it as the top point getter is the winner. And I don't know if we have a preference there now with, so that, just there is,
So
That
this
was
is,
always
this is just a guideline, which I think is good, because there's still some subjectivity.
absolutely,
But
and
this
that's
kind of
what,
might have 2 here and other ones down here, so it gives you a
and
good
that's why I wanted to
range.
kind of clarify that. Even seeing Diane's response makes me proud of that, because that's very much the way I come from too, is a lot happens kind of after the scoring and the, you know, the conversation that's gonna take place
Yes.
between the 5 of you.
Well, and of course, that first person, I have nothing to compare him to. And I'm not gonna give him 20s, because I have nowhere to go then.
Yeah,
So,
Well, and the other-
there's good and bad to be on the front and
Yeah.
the back end, but yeah, the points, I think are gonna be a guide at best.
That'll be a helpful guide, because it's likely there's gonna be a break somewhere in there. We're gonna have two echelons. Maybe not, and if there's not, then we've got five very competitive equally, and that's a whole other great problem to have. But we may be able to eliminate one or two and focus on those top three or whatever, so.
So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, because I know that's.
I've never made a decision in my life, Dave, that was based on a mathematical equation, so don't you worry about that. They're gonna get 6 hours of my talk, don't worry.
So I
No,
assume this should be on a 120 scale, correct? On the sheet that we have, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
All the forms currently are in draft form, so we'll make that correction, but yes, just to clarify, make sure that
It just
It
accounts
is a
for the fact that I'm
tool.
not giving anybody a 20.
it is a tool to help guide the process.
Yeah.
It is not the final determinator of the process.
And see, that's where, the input from the community and the input from staff. Diana and I talked about staff, and basically all we're gonna do is give them the opportunity to provide comments if they're interested. But we'll have that as another piece to our decision-making. So if we're in a situation where we need a tiebreaker, we may look and see the staff, the user community, all liked candidate A over candidate B, the comments came back. That might help break the tie, but at least we've got their input, and we can we can factor that as another piece to our decision-making process.
So are the other groups grading like this? Will there be numbers, or will it be just more anecdotal, just saying, what they thought of the
I
candidates?
think based on the number of user groups, it would need to be more of a numerical system, because there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen at the moment, so the more that we can make it something that we can easily pare down. I'll request comments at the bottom of the form, but I will also give them a very similar looking scoring sheet to what you have.
And directors will do that also then, with their director visits?
No, we
Or-
don't really care what
no.
they have to say.
Who do you report to?
They hide me in a corner for a reason. Yes, no, we will be getting information from them as well.
So is that all staff that come to this? Because I know we'll get asked. Are they able to give comments that come to
We
meet
will-
the panel?
We will make a survey link, a SurveyMonkey link that they are able to go out to, and give their input.
And we'll be able to see the designation between staff and directors.
Yes.
I think that's important. I mean, not that one's more important than the other necessarily, but it's important to.
Kevin, was your
see
question
different.
if the staff will be at the user meeting or at the interviews? What was your
When they come
question?
to the various.
Oh, okay. Well, the staff is, got it.
Is it just the people
got
that
it.
are in attendance gonna be able to, be part of that survey, or is the entire full-time group, given that survey?
At NDSU, we get an email that goes out to the whole campus that says, Vice President so-and-so candidate was here on campus this week. If you had an opportunity to interact with them, please, fill out this, and it's a written feedback opportunity, so that, and if you did, you did, and if you didn't, you didn't.
And as far as who comes, and I think Dave kind of hit on that at one of the meetings, if I'm available on Monday, I'll come over, and if Wednesday I can't because I've got another job, or I'm at a job site, or I'm committed, I miss it. And so it's not a requirement, but I hope, you guys, the directors, can encourage your staff to make time, because, they're only gonna be at each place, half an hour. So I think it's just important if you can get your staff to at least come over and shake his hand or her hand or whatever. Dave, do you have any? I threw you out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think it's best to do it that way rather than say, the all-staff way we looked at it, and that kind of then makes us put the requirement there for people to come, so we thought about it and thought this is a better way that we can get the people that are interested, because clearly we'll have some of those, and offer the opportunity, and those that aren't, they don't have that obligated feeling that, oh, now I have to go to this and do this and that. You know, and so we just thought that that'd be probably the cleanest way to do it, is provide the opportunity, the people that want to do it, similar to what Dr. Joe just described with the survey at NDSU. You know, if you had the opportunity, you were there, please give us your comments.
And you're gonna get your best feedback from the people that actually want to be there, so.
Correct, yeah.
So, Jerry, I'm getting ahead of us maybe, but what's our plan after the 21st?
I think that what we would need to do is schedule a board meeting, and we could probably start pulling some dates and times together. We'd gavel in, and then we could go, you know, call the meeting to order, do all that, and then we could go into executive session and discuss who our hiring would be, kick it around, everybody weighs in, and then at the end of our executive session, we'd come back out of it, and then one of the commissioners would make a motion. I move that we hire candidate A, and we'd have to probably determine salary, and someone would second it, and then we'd vote, and we'd either approve or I don't know what we'd do if we didn't approve. But I'm assuming that we'll come out of executive session.
Just to clarify, what time, when did you say that would be? Is that gonna
Would it
be
be after
Tuesday?
the last candidate?
Oh, it's gonna be a separate date than after the last candidate, or the same evening?
I don't know. Would we,
I think it'd be,
Doesn't somebody,
I can't imagine doing it immediately after the last
problem
interview.
is,
but-
is that
Yeah, I would
we
think it's a
immediately
separate
have
date.
somebody gone. So, I mean, unless we bring that person, because we shouldn't sit
No, I agree.
for multiple days, which,
yeah,
so either Stacy, right, is it Vicky? Oh,
Vicky.
Vicky
Vicky
is
is
brought
gone.
in on the phone, or we go Wednesday night, but it needs to be fresh. We can't wait till Monday to start discussions.
would that be a situation where you could do a phone on the?
My days are full, with a little bit of leeway depending on the time, my evenings are open. So, I can be on the phone, that's not a problem.
Would the 22nd work for you, Rusty?
I think you should be here though, if possible.
Yeah, that would probably.
Well,
Well, I mean, I don't
What
have a
about the-
problem, I mean,
okay,
with
so,
us going and
well,
eating for
let's-
30 minutes or something and reconvening at 6 o'clock or something on that Tuesday night.
if the weather is kind, on Wednesday, the 22nd, I can return from Grand Forks for a meeting, and then I have to drive to Minot and be in Minot by 9 AM on the next day. So, it's possible, it's just tough. You know, I should look at, so like a 4 o'clock meeting would probably work on Wednesday, unless you guys, do you guys think Tuesday the 21st? I mean, are people gonna want time to think, or?
I would, I mean, just to kind of gather your
That's what
thoughts
I'm
after
thinking
5
too.
interviews and.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll support whatever makes the most sense, but I just don't think waiting till Monday to start deliberating.
No, I don't disagree with that, I think you're right.
Stacy, do you have any inputs on that topic, on this topic?
I think we should start the determination as soon as we can. The 21st, we may, have an idea of the direction we're going already, the evening of the 21st, but we may be exhausted. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I'd hate to wait till Monday.
Does Wednesday work for you?
Yeah.
Wednesday works for everybody else?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I have a department meeting from 3 to question mark. If we go at 4:30 instead of 4, that would make it easier. I mean, I'll tell them I gotta get out of whatever I gotta get out of.
And you're just making me get to Minot that much.
Oh, well, that's fine then. I'll just tell them I gotta leave when I gotta
I
leave.
mean,
No, I didn't realize you had to drive that night
so
still.
when
I thought you
we're
were going in the
done,
morning.
I will drive to Minot.
No,
I
okay,
can't,
yeah, that's-
I can't risk driving it.
Oh, I got you. Okay, 4 o'clock then.
4:30 the next morning with weather. I was just looking at this. Here we go. So Wednesday, 22nd. Oh, actually, I could maybe even bug out a little bit sooner, so if we wanted to have a 3 o'clock meeting, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, I can leave Grand Forks by about 1:45, 2 o'clock.
Well, why don't we
Three
set it
fifteen?
3:15?
Better watch your speeding.
I won't be speeding.
Tara, do you wanna do 3:15 on the 22nd? And obviously, if the weather gets wonky,
Well, then I'd just
we'll just
figure out a way to
figure out what we're
call
gonna
in,
do.
yep. Well, and, you know, Stacy, or somebody suggested if we're feeling up to it on Tuesday night, after the last interview, maybe we just stay. Do we need to do something special if that's what we're gonna do? Yeah, we'd probably have to announce a special board meeting.
Yep.
So can we announce a special board meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then cancel one of them?
Yep.
Does that work, Tara?
Yes, we should be able to cancel.
I mean, I think we should if we can, just because if we're done on Tuesday and go, you know what, I'm ready, or you're ready, or we feel like we're up to it.
Well, we could break for a half hour to eat or something, and collect our thoughts and restart it.
I mean, I don't know that we're gonna be
Yeah.
up to it. I think I'm gonna wanna have time to look at all 5. but-
I wonder if we should get a legal opinion. I don't have a problem with setting them both and then canceling one or the other, but it depends upon how we announce it, because we can't announce the Tuesday meeting
What-
as a preliminary decision-making. I don't know, we'd need to understand how we language that,
You would say that you're having the Tuesday and you're having the Wednesday, because you may end up having to deliberate on into Wednesday, and then if we don't start on Tuesday, we just cancel the meeting for Tuesday and keep the one on Wednesday.
Well, and Tuesday could even be as simple as, okay, we've had our 5 interviews. Does anybody have any other questions we need to go through before we kind of do our own determinations or scoring or whatever? And then we get back together on Wednesday. I don't know.
But we might be ready to decide on Tuesday. I think that what we need to do is just talk to legal and get, how do we language these that provides us with the ability, if we're ready to decide, and if we're not, we come back the next day and decide.
But when are we getting all your information that you've gathered? I assume that's when we're done with all of them? So I don't know how we're gonna have that on Tuesday, if we're grading this on Tuesday, and then we're
Yeah.
collecting everything else, and, I mean, we won't have that information until we're done with all the interviews, correct?
Yeah, I won't be able to do much until, I mean, I can do it, I can keep it up, but the last interview, I won't have that information from you until after the last interview, so.
And I don't think it's right for us to see them as we go along. I think we need to interview everyone and then get the information.
Sure.
So I don't think there's any way we could do it
Probably
Tuesday night.
Wednesday's the soonest I could get you all of it.
Because you're gonna have to get all the input from the community
Yep.
and then anything from staff too.
Sure.
And I wanna have some time to look at that and not just look at it, you know, when we meet, so.
Sure. Yep. that makes
And
sense.
Wednesday might even be too early.
Well, the other option is, I could change my Friday plans and we could do something Thursday night. Now, that's gonna take me longer to get here, cause I'll be coming from Minot.
I think another option for me is the weekend. I mean, I'm here the rest of the week and the weekend, if we have to meet on the weekend.
And I'm good with that too.
I'm gone on Saturday, 25th. Yeah. And into Sunday, like I'm spending the night,
Okay.
25th.
When do,
Thursday is an option?
well, what about Thursday? Yeah, I just have to plan, so. But it would again be
Should we get our
7
availability
o'clock.
to Tara? I mean,
It's gonna be
we're available the
4.5
rest of the
hours,
week.
7 o'clock. It would be a late meeting on Thursday.
So what about if, I
And
know
I'm
the
good,
comments,
I'm good Friday night too, so.
the comments were made, not, we can't wait till Monday, but is that hard and fast that we can't? Or what if we did sleep on it through the weekend and come back Monday night? Then we've had time to review everything. We got a good sense going into where we feel with the candidates, and then Monday night, we come to a conclusion.
I don't think spending a few more days is the end of the world, honestly. And it's not like we're waiting weeks, but I think the candidates realize, I mean, the last interview was on Tuesday. It's gonna take you a little bit of time to make a decision, getting 5 people together.
Or we could do it first thing Monday morning. That would be the 27th.
If we do it the 27th, it would have to be first thing in the morning for me.
So
I
the
have
other,
a standing meeting Monday morning, but I can get out of that.
the other mechanics to it is, let's say we pick candidate A. Then we gotta, we come out of that meeting, we gavel it in, we move, we motion, we second, we identify the candidate, but we haven't negotiated. So if
We-
we announce publicly that we're hiring Joe Deutsch as the new executive director, then how do we?
Part of the negotiation is the fact that the person might say, you know what, as a result of the interview there, I didn't think I'd actually be a very good
Yep.
fit. So we're not gonna gavel in and make any decision until the contract negotiation is done anyways, because that's gonna determine that we're actually hiring that person, because that's conceded for us to assume they're gonna accept.
That was my point,
Yeah.
where I was going with that,
Yeah.
is we can't come back, gavel in, and identify
No.
our finalists.
No. We'll make a decision to accept or to extend an offer, and then then HR will handle that extension and communicate or whatever, and at whatever point that process is complete, then we'll make an announcement.
Then we'll come back, so we'll have to have 2 meetings then, really. One is to come in, do the executive session, identify our finalist, and then let HR go negotiate, do all that, and then come back once that's done, and then announce. Or maybe.
Do we have to do that? Why can't, through our meeting, can we ask them to do something on our part? I'm just saying, the last time we hired an executive director, the only formal board we had was approving the hire of that person at that salary. Bang.
That'd be a second, because we'd have to come in to do the executive session, or did you guys discuss the candidates as a board?
It's not good on that rabbit hole.
But yeah,
Let's
this is.
just leave it at the point that the only thing that we actually legally have to do
Right.
is come forward and say, we want to hire this person with this salary and these things. And what we do before that, I don't think we have to formally.
Let's just
announce.
give legal advice on what we
Kevin?
need to
We have
do.
an event we gotta go to.
Okay,
We'll wrap up in Santa Village, so.
all right. I think we're
Thank you.
getting close to being done here, so.
Gotta return your coal, or
Yes.
return your stockings, or?
Let's get a legal counsel recommendation on how to handle that when we get to it.
Yep, and we've got some time.
Yep.
So I think, speaking of time though, I think we're leaning toward a Monday meeting. Is that kind of where we're at? Because that Wednesday, Thursday is too quick of a turnaround?
Where are we at, did you say?
Monday, the 27th?
My only option that day is right away in the morning. And right away can be as early as you guys want it to be.
That works for me. Stacy?
I'm good.
Yep, anytime Monday works for me.
Mr. Deutsch?
Yeah, well, we'll make it work,
Okay.
pretty sure.
All right, so Terry, you have that for action?
5:30? So like 7:30 or 8 o'clock, or what are you
7:30?
thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or earlier.
Or 7?
7:30's fine.
Let's go 7:30. Yeah.
Okay, I'm scratching my 3:15 on Wednesday the 22nd.
All right, so to kind of put a wrap, we got the interview schedule in place. We added a meeting to discuss the candidates on Monday, the 27th. We've got our questions, our pool of questions from the different categories. And then we've got our scoring sheet for each candidate. Is there anything we're missing? Anything else that we need to discuss along this way? Diane, you think of anything?
No, I think we're good.
Tara? Okay. Carolyn, Brian, Dave, anything? Commissioners, Stacy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay, anything from in here? The form did,
Just a thank you to everyone for working on
Yeah.
this.
oh
You've
yeah.
done a great job,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's gonna be a lot of work.
Well, and
I
for
mean,
the
it's been a lot of work already, and
next
it's gonna
5
be,
days.
it's
It
gonna be
was
a lot
nice
of work
that
over 8 days.
Diane started and we threw her right at this.
That's why I said trial by fire at the beginning of the meeting.
She's been great to work with, so we got a good hire there. Very, very happy to deal with Diane. So I will get a note out to staff as to where we're at and get them up to speed. The forum had asked, and I'll talk to marketing about responding, so we'll send them the pool, or not the categories of questions and the interview schedule. And I guess we didn't talk about media availability for any of the candidates, but I'm anticipating that we could just tell them that here's the schedule of events. If they want to show up to interview any of the candidates, we just work with them.
Yes, that's the intent right now, is to provide that and then ask them to schedule with us so that, again, at each of the stops, we can prepare for them and make sure that candidates are available, and then the staff is able to still have time with them as well.
Okay. So they'll work with Katie and, okay.
And I talked to Carol a little bit, I like that direction. I think it was, the way we were planning it, I think we were trying to do the right thing, but to have media come in at 8 o'clock when we can't control when media shows up, and we're talking about trying to be consistent, that,
Yep.
I mean, they might show up for 2 and not show up for the other 3, so I like just having them available.
So as you hear from the media, could you, before each candidate, just send out, who's coming and, who's scheduled an interview? So if WDAY wants to do an interview, that I can make sure to set my DVR, because I'd like to watch the story that they did, just to see how the candidate.
Yeah, we'll be as forthcoming as they are with us. It may be that you find out after the fact because they just showed up.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine, yep. Perfect. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.